So that is a very interesting expression, without any further ado. Sort of the what this whole conversation is about is ending the further ado and entering the rather a be. Because while we think there's still further ado, we're just not going to show up. Still something to do before I need to show up. There's still something I need to do just in case. Just in case. So, let's see. The hardest challenge for us in digesting the emotional signature. How many of you were here last night? How many of you weren't? Good luck on catching up. Because I don't even know where we are. It's kind of free fall. So, the most challenging aspect of transformation of our experience is that we want to change as long as everything stays the same. I don't mind entering any transformational work, just as long as it doesn't mess with my life. Right. Because the addiction to familiarity and the addiction to the structure that was manifest out of that childhood imprint, out of the discomfort. It's quite challenging when we realize that almost every aspect of our human reality right now has been manifest out of our discomfort. And really sit with that for a moment. And that includes our political systems, our family structure, our relationship structure, our religious systems, even our spiritual organizations, as different as we perceive them to be from the orthodox ones. Our unorthodox approaches, because they're manufactured still out of our discomfort, in an attempt to resolve our discomfort, are still structures that really what they're doing is they're a means to attempt to organize God. And it's in all ways, and really when we say organize God, in the truest sense, what we're saying is to organize love. Because we've been told God is love. We just don't know what that means. It's just a great expression. God is love. Right? And really, God realization really is about getting your sexy back. When you really get what that's about. Right? How to feel good being. And all our structures that we have manufactured, in order to accomplish that, those structures are going to be dismantled. And that's the part of the change we're not interested in. Right? A good relationship book is a relationship book that tells me how to take this structure and sedate and control it in a way that I can just keep plugging away at it. A good relationship book, that's what we term a good relationship book. Right? It doesn't lead us to believe that the structure of a relationship itself as it is over. It's an old paradigm. Right? So what we want to do is we want to take something that's built out of misery, and we want to give it a new coat of paint. We don't want to let go of that. And organizing love is very difficult, because when we organize love, it's like if you take and you try and organize God, then someone has to run that organization. And when it becomes a career, then we have to get paid for it. And we can't not get paid one month and then paid the next month. It has to be consistent, so the being paid becomes a high priority. And then it's no longer about God, it's about keeping the organization going. And in our situation, from a very personal level, on a very intimate level, when I manufacture a persona so that I can feel good about what's going on, so that I can somehow get the love that I want or get the attention I want, I become very invested in keeping that alive, that person alive. That's we call the death, we've called the death of the ego, but I'm very invested in keeping that person alive. I'm very invested in keeping the relationship I've made out of that discomfort alive. I'm very invested in maintaining this role of family role that I'm in, which I call my family. It's very interesting because all these teachings are already given to us. We just have to realize them. Jesus was asked, said, your mother's calling you, and he said, who is my mother? And he was trying to give some insight into the fact that the family, as we know it, is a dysfunctional structure. It is a dysfunctional structure. And the marriage, for example, Jesus got his sexy back, you can be sure about that. And he was intimately involved with someone. But it's very hard to tell that because he didn't build a structure around it, so there's no evidence of it. Because there's no structure. Because that was being without condition. The structure is the condition. Okay, these are the conditions that I will be with you. And when we agree to those conditions, we don't say, okay, I'll be, we say, I do. And then it's over. You want to destroy intimacy? Get married. It's designed to destroy intimacy, right? Want to destroy a relationship with God? Organize it. It's designed. It's our natural, and it's not. It's really what's really important to receive here is to receive the awareness of this, that this is how the mental body operates. If it is allowed to be the causal point of the quality of our experience. Because if you place your mental body on anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If you place it on a plant, it has to have a beginning and an ending. A space that it fits into. An understanding. A way, a label. A Latin name. Everything's got to be organized. Right? The mental body can't not put something into a structure and confine it. That's its nature. And so really comprehending that for the past period in our evolution, we have been going through mental body development. It's been part of our evolution, but it doesn't serve us in this next part of our journey. It served us for a long time, the physical evolution that we went through, right? Woman, food, right? That was the breeding, fire, eating, shelter. That's it. Get that together in this strange reality that we're in, right? So that my consciousness has a vehicle that it can now sit in. And then to develop a navigation system, right? And the navigation system, the physical aspect is just to ground us in. And for many of us, we're even struggling with that part, to just stay in the body. because we've got so mental. I mean, many of us probably don't even remember how we got here this morning. Really. Because on the way, we were having a conversation. No, really. No, I'll tell you what it is. No. I wonder if it's going to be about this. No, I wonder what... okay, oh, here I am. Oh. Who is driving? God. That's how you know there's a God. The fact that there aren't cars piled up everywhere, divine intervention. Because we're not there, we're in the story. If I think about my family in South Africa, I'm in South Africa. Just because the body follows me around doesn't mean that I'm actually in it. Right? And this body is such a gift. It is such a gift. It's the temple. It's the temple, and it has an altar. And a real altar means it alters something. That's why we call it an altar. If it doesn't alter something, it's not an altar. An altar alters. That's why it says altar. Right? And the heart is the altar. It's really the heart of the matter. Right? And realizing how to pray upon that altar, that's what it's all about. That's the only thing this person, Jesus, came to share. That's it. Get that, got it all. Everything else is given. Take care of that, everything else is given. Don't pray on that altar, and you've got a problem. You're wandering around the wilderness. Right? You know, Moses led them around the wilderness, right? So that's why I call it moseying around. It doesn't take long to get out of the wilderness, just 40 days. And we'll cover that today. It takes 40 days to cross that bridge. It doesn't actually take 40 days, but 40 days is it just sounds good and everything. And if you do it for 40 days, it's going to show you something. It's really going to lead you out the wilderness. And we'll talk about that later. Right. So the first thing is, we struggle to get into the body. That might have taken a lot on this particular timeline. We were talking about it in the car, this word world. When we talk about our world, it's really we're saying this is all that exists. That's a mental body thing. There's nothing else. Right? So in this world we're on a particular timeline. It's good to think of a timeline. We're on a timeline. And this timeline is like a timeline, a seed. When you put a seed into the garden, you establish a timeline. And it's going to move along a timeline, and it's going to move to fruiting and harvesting. And we're on a timeline. It's a garden. And on our timeline, there was a lot of physical stuff going on. We spent a long time in the physical. Our physical, just getting this body and organized enough to get into. So it works, and it's accomplished. Body, done. Well done. All right? Then the mental body, navigation, because the mental body is a navigational tool. Right. And we've spent a long time developing the mental body. That's when the tools begin, right? Tools, Industrial Revolution, Apple Mac, iPod. Eventually we're going to get to the I am. It'll come. So we go into the whole tool mentality. And it's a mentality to develop the tools, and actually it's an externalization of an internal development. But that's completed. The mental body too is completed. Good job. Right? It's finished. If we stay in there now, we're going to go completely mad. That's why it's called the mental realm. It's a warning. Stay in there too long and you go mental, right? Now we're in the emotional and fast approaching vibrational. Fast. And the thing about it is it really is a speeding up. So we spend millions, think of it as years, millions of years in the physical. And then we spend thousands in the mental. And we spend about 13 in the emotional. And the vibrational, well, that doesn't take any time at all, because it's already here. It's just that's how long it takes to realize it. When one realizes it's always been here. It doesn't take any time. There's no time involved. But developing the capacity to perceive the vibrational. And the vibrational, there is no condition. So love, what love is, really, it has no condition to it. There are many conditions in which it expresses itself, but in itself it has no condition. And so that's why we don't really know what love is here, because there's a condition attached to almost every moment of our life. I get up in the morning and I have certain conditions. Better have breakfast, better do this, better do that, got to do this, got to do that, got to, right? All these conditions that I have to fulfill for being around. And the IRS will give you a lot of conditions for being around, right? There's a lot of conditions. That's why it's funny, because we're alive, but we still got to earn a living. It's a really strange thing. And so being with ourselves without placing conditions. Okay, I can be with myself if I'm successful. I can be with myself if I'm receiving praised. I can be with myself if I've received a promotion. I can be with myself if I'm doing my yoga every day. I can be with myself if I have a companion who loves me. All these conditions to be with myself. But can I really be with myself beyond condition? What's that about? Can I just be with myself because I'm here? Right? And when I am just being with myself because I'm here, what happens is I start to feel lonely and sad, right? Because there are no conditions that I can recognize as being valid, right? There's nothing validating me. My whole life, it's had to be validated by what's going on around me. As a child, just being there for a while was cool, but eventually you got to pay the rent. You better get up and do something, right? The being is valued for a little while, but then eventually only the doing. In other words, I'm okay being with myself as long as I'm doing something. Right? If there's nothing to do, a bit of anxiety steps in. And anxiety is a beautiful word. It means any exit. If you look at anxiety, any exit. When I'm in anxiety, it means I can't be in this moment. You give me any doorway, I will take it. Yep. I can't be with myself just because I'm here. Just because. Because is a beautiful word. Because. Right? Why am I with myself? Because. Being at the cause. Being is the cause. Because is a complete sentence. It doesn't need any other conditions attached to it. Right? But it's hard for us to... So it's all about developing that level of there is only one relationship. Everything else is a reflection of that. And that's the only relationship that we require taking care of. That relationship. Everything else is always going to reflect that. And when I'm unable to be the parent to that part of myself, I will go looking for mommy and daddy everywhere in the world. And if I don't know what it means to parent myself, right, That's what having a real experience is. It's called experience. Right? I'm going to X all my parents so that I can be my own parent, so I can have a real experience. Right? So that primary relationship, that's all that's required to take care of that. Once we take care of that, everything is added unto. And all the time, we're experiencing different levels. There's 3 different levels of perceptual experience going on simultaneously, all the time, in this human experience. And depending on whether we're physically transfixed or mentally transfixed or emotionally transfixed, which is the 3 levels, because eventually we're going to become vibrationally anchored. But at the moment, those are the 3 levels we're exploring. We already killed all the people who vibrationally anchored and then turned them into religious leaders, right? Those 3 levels are very easy to see, but we're consistently at one of them, and they look like this. The physically transfixed level of perception looks like this. Those people over there are always gossiping, you know? They don't seem to have anything else to do but talk about other people. They just seem to stand around all day and talk about other people. I mean, don't they have anything? And they're probably talking about me too anyway. That's really annoying. I should just tell them to stop talking about other people. Haven't they got a life, right? In other words, the physical world level of perception is when I perceive people talking to each other, the way humans interact towards each other and towards me. That is my point of focus. I don't see the world in any other way. I'm watching how people are with each other and towards me. Then, if I gather enough presence and I move along that pathway of awareness from the physical into the mental, then it may change somewhat, right? That's when I realize, oh, hell, I'm standing here talking about them, doing exactly what they're doing, and the reason they annoy me so much is because they're just doing what I'm doing. And I'm trying to hide that from the world, and I'd just rather not you stand out there and show people what I do. Right? That's how we are with our world leaders. Right? Let's get rid of the world leaders who behave like us. Let's put in world leaders who don't behave like us. Right? So no one can see what we're doing. So that's the mental level of experience in which I start to become aware of how I'm behaving towards others. Right? And that's when I realize how mental I am. Right? And then there's another level of experience which we can say is the emotional level of experience. And the mental way of receiving that or realizing the emotional is when I realize, hang on a moment, I'm gossiping to myself about myself all day. I'm walking around saying, Michael, you're never going to get it right. You're always messing up. I mean, are you ready for this? I mean, is this going to be right? I mean, why did you do that? And I'm having a conversation with myself about myself. Right? I'm gossiping to myself about myself. Underlying that is the causal point. And underlying that actually is a feeling, an emotional signature that's driving that. Although when I don't have emotional body awareness, which is a natural adult state, once we've gone through the mental institution of schooling, we don't have felt perception. And so I can't feel that underlying that behavior towards myself is a feeling, a deeply uncomfortable feeling. And it's in reaction to that feeling that I speak to myself that way. And then that radiates from the emotional through the mental. And then if I am treating myself that way, I'm going to treat you that way. And if I treat you that way, then I will perceive the world as beings who treat each other that way and as myself being treated that way, because that's the mirror. And if I'm physically transfixed, I will spend my time trying to clean the mirror to get rid of the pimples. Right? Wipe, 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 wipe. Right? So the realization is that one has to go to the causal point. Because when I respond to that emotional signature, rather than to react to it and bring it to resolution, its radiance is going to transform. And the radiance will transform it will be a different way of being with myself, not trying to do something to myself. Because that conversation, that gossip that's going on, is an attempt to do something to myself, or to look at what I'm doing or not doing. It's all about doing, right? And so then in that aspect of my experience, I can now be with myself, because that energy is not going. And then because that aspect of my experience has come to peace, then I can be with you that way. And then I will perceive that state of being in the world. It'll show up. That's what I will see. And my attention will go off the other behavior it's no longer point of my focus. It may continue in the world. People may continue to gossip. They always will. But it won't come up on my horizon. There won't be an emotional signature attached to it, and therefore my awareness won't be hooked into it. It won't be part of my reality. That we can find out, that I found out through cigarette smoking, right? Cigarette smoking is a really interesting thing, right? You see someone smoking a cigarette, I'm against child abuse, eh? Really? That child abuse stuff really sucks, eh? I don't really approve of child abuse, right? But the only reason we smoke is because we're uncomfortable inside ourselves. There's an emotional signature. And that emotional signature was implanted in childhood. And actually, whenever that discomfort comes up, that's my child coming to me, because I'm the only one that can be with it and bring that to resolution. And so when it comes to me, what I do is I stick a cigarette in its mouth. Stuff it down, right? Cigarette smoking is child abuse. We just can't see it. We can't see it, right? But it's profound that when we smoke cigarettes, there are cigarette smokers around us. We're very aware of cigarette smoking reality. It's there. People telling us not to smoke, where to smoke, how to smoke, right? And then we connect with other people who do smoke too, because this makes it okay somehow, right? But the funny thing is, when I go to the causal point of my experience and I resolve that emotional signature, I go to that child part of myself and I be with it without condition and go, yeah, I can feel it, you're really uncomfortable. I'm going to be with you throughout that discomfort. I'm not going to change you, I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to say anything is bad, anything is good. I'm just going to be with you because you're there. Because I'm going to be at the cause, right? I'm going to be the cause consciously, and I'm going to sit at that place. And once that emotional signature comes to a point of resolution, and that isn't there anymore, I will find my own desire to do this is gone, right? And then all the people around me that are smoking just disappear. It's the most amazing thing. I smoked for 20 years. I loved it. And I always say to people smoking now, enjoy it while it lasts. And for goodness sake, don't smoke a mild menthol cigarette. Get the good stuff. Plain. Really smoke. Don't mess about. Don't just smoke. So I smoked, for years, and I loved it. But when I was quitting, the smokers were still around. When I was blaming the cigarettes, it's the cigarettes. It really is. They've got a hold on me, right? Blaming the physical world for my quality of my experience, and then my thinking, I am a non-smoker. I'm healthy. I've got healthy lungs. I want to live. All that stuff, right? Still, the cigarette smokers are around. They're just kind of a little bit backed off, right? And as I turn on the cigarettes, people turn on my cigarette smoking. Don't smoke around here, right? It's the universe just mirroring me. But when I authentically removed that charge from me, myself, that I can sit around smokers and it just means nothing to me. I can see smoking in the movies and it doesn't make me ooh. It's all gone. It's gone, right? And so are the cigarette smokers. I don't know one cigarette smoker in my world. They disappeared. Wow. Now that's alchemy, right? That's when we change that causal point within ourselves. It transforms this out completely. And it's undeniable. And that's the whole thing about alchemy is, alchemy impacts, that's how you know it's alchemy. Because what is alchemy, we're told? You take base metal and you turn it into gold. If you don't know, let me just let you, it's a metaphor. Right. Doesn't mean you have to go and find lead and stuff and start boiling it and going and blah, 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 and try and find a special way to turn it into gold. It means we take these emotional signatures and we digest them. And when we digest them, the nutrition is phenomenal. That's what the alchemy is. And the alchemy, the consequence of alchemy is that my 3D experience is impacted. Right? The mental world is not the same, which we call the metaphysical world, right? Our metaphysical approach to alchemy or to spirituality is very different, because then I can go to see what the mental world does is it says, okay, I'm going to create this retreat area. Okay? It's going to be perfect environment. Right? I'm going to serve perfect food. Right? Everyone's going to go, namaste, namaste, right? Which actually, when we realize what namaste means, it means no master, no master, no master, right? No master. Right? So, I'm going to create this idyllic environment. Right? Everyone's going to be really nice to each other. You can go there for 7 days, pay good bucks, right? You go there for 7 days, you're going to be fed, you're going to have a sweet accommodation, everyone's going to be going like namaste, on their best behavior, very nice, quiet, calm. And you're going to get quite spaced out there. It's going to be really groovy. After a couple of days, it's going to be like, wow. Right? After 7 days, it's like, oh, I'm one. I'm one with everything, right? Actually, by that time, I'm in complete denial of what is. But we don't realize it, right? We don't realize it. But what happens is, the reality check is when I go to work the next morning after 7 days, and I go to work and I'm like, I can't stand this, oh, the traffic. Don't speak to me. I'm still in my spiritual happy place. Right? What is accomplished? Nothing. Nothing has changed. We just escaped reality for a while. Which is great because it can give us some indication of what possibilities are. So all those experiences are valid. It's just important for us to see them as they are and to really choose to have something real. I want a real impact in my life. That was my intent in about 1996. I said my prayer was, I don't want a lot. I just want real. Just not a lot. I didn't even know what that meant. Boy, I got kicked all over the place after that, right? I want real. I actually want to engage myself in something that has real effect. In other words, my 3D world shifts in an irreversible way. I don't just stop smoking for 3 years and then when the person I'm with who really asked me to stop smoking breaks up with me and leaves, that the first thing I do is go and get a packet of cigarettes and start smoking again. Because actually I never stopped for myself in the first place. I never actually did anything internal. I did it for someone else. Right? So that's alchemy it's going to have a very real impact on our experience. And part of it is going to be the dismantling of many things around us. Initially, the dismantling of my own, first of all, the dismantling of my body as I know it. Because when I enter alchemy, it's going to get uncomfortable. The reason it gets uncomfortable is because most of my life I've been sedating my emotional reality from my awareness. And the only way out is through. The only way in is through. I have to go through that emotional debris. Every part of it is gems. Every part of it is base metal to be turned into gold. But the way we turn base metal into gold is to enter the base metal, become the base metal, and then turn ourselves into gold. And the base metal transforms. In other words, enter the fear fully and be with it without condition. And being without condition, see, we have this expression, unconditional love. You know, unconditional, what does this mean, right? It's just become such a catchphrase that it has no meaning. But unconditional love is just being without condition. That's all it is. Being without condition. And being is also quite hard to define, right? And so a way of resonating with what being is feeling without condition. I'm going to feel my fear, and I have no conditions upon doing so. I'm placing no conditions upon that experience. I'm going to feel afraid. I'm going to feel very afraid. And if I enter the heart and I choose to, and also, see, the thing about this work is that the mental body assumes, okay, I'm doing this. This is the whole funny thing. I am doing this. I've decided to do this heart work, right? And I figure out in the next 9 months I'll be done, right? And in the first month I'm going to do this, deal with my fear. The next month, and I'll deal with my anger. Then, okay, but that's not what's going on here. The heart allows us in or not. The heart oversees all of it. The heart is running the show of it. It's choosing who comes in and who doesn't come in. That's why conversionism is crazy. Because I am not going to deal with my fear because you ask me to. I won't. I won't deal with my anger because you ask me to. I won't deal with my grief because you ask me to. I will only when it's time and I'm ready, and everyone around me too is ready. Right? Remember, we're interdependent. This is a whole, we're in this together. And that's the paradox of this work, is I can't do it with you. I can't. I can't do alchemy in a group. Alchemy is the end of the group. Right? Because what we do is we make these groups where everyone thinks like us and behaves like us, and then we go into the group and then we're going to be authentic. And we think that that's going to enable us to become authentic. When everyone in the group is shaped according to what's comfortable to us. For a while, until everyone, shows up in the group, and then it just gets messy, right? Alchemy is about liberating ourselves from those structures. Because what is the group? What is my authentic group? This morning it's you. Later on I may go into a store to buy something, and then when I'm standing in the store, it's who's ever in the store. And then if I go home and visit my family, it's who's ever sitting around the table. And when I go to work, it's who's ever at work. That's my authentic group. That's the group that's required, because that's the group that's given. It's not the group I need and want to try and capture, right? So we make an inauthentic group to gain authenticity. It's kind of a weird thing, but we're going to go through that. But alchemy liberates us from that, because I have to be with my fear without condition that you're there to be with me while I go through it. Because if you're there to be with me while I go through it, that's the part of myself that's not going to grow. Wherever I need or want someone else to be with me while I go through this is the part of my emotional body in which I will not grow. That's the bottom line, right? But this is the beautiful thing. When I go into myself and I become intimate with myself by allowing myself to process these emotional states, the deeper and more intimate I become with myself, as I integrate those emotional blockages, the structures made from them without me are going to disintegrate. And that means that I will enter my authentic group naturally. In fact, the more intimate I am with myself, the more intimate I am able to be with all of you, not just some of you, right? So that's the paradox. If I want to become part of humanity, I have to really get with myself. I don't have to organize humanity and come, let's get together. Let's get together, okay? Let's be one. Okay, I tell you what, we'll have an organization. This is how we be one. These are the rules. And if we follow these rules, we'll be one, right? That's the mental body version of oneness, which is called dictatorship, right? Or demonocracy. Take your pick, right? You are free as long as you do what you're told. Right? So that's liberating. That's why liberation truly is emotional. Liberation truly is an emotional process. And those that enter that level of the journey are the greatest warriors on the planet. And let's be real about what this is about. How many, okay, we gathered here last night, Friday night. This is when everyone's getting their groove on, right? So on Friday night, how many people were in a sporting event? Millions. How many people were in a political event? A lot. How many people were discussing emotional integration? So one has to stay real about what this is. It is not about everybody. It is not for everybody. And it's also not required that everyone gets involved. Because remember, being without condition has a radiance to it that is so powerful, it makes a nuclear reactor look like a child's toy. The radiance of it when it's tapped into. I mean, one dude did it 2,000 years ago, and we're still talking about it. Like, wow! That was a freaky thing that person did. Right? That's how powerful it is. That's how powerful it is. So, when I come in, the deeper I come into myself, the first dismantling is the first relationship, the structure that is dismantled, is the relationship I'm having with the person that I made out of my emotional signature. That's the very first level of dismantling, right? I am breaking up with myself. Sorry, but I don't want to go out with you anymore. We have been going out for a long time, but I would like to go in with myself and not out with you, right? So I'm afraid this is over, right? I know I said I do a while back, not anymore. We are going to be divorced, right? And that is a challenging situation, because suddenly I'm going to start feeling lonely. And the aloneness is a rite of passage. The sense of aloneness is a rite of passage. In other words, it's the right passage. Right? A rite of passage means the right passageway. That's what that comes from. And the nature of it is, as we see that there's very few people that we even know in our lives that are interested in emotional growth, right? Because those that are growing are the warriors. Really, that's the bravest to go there, to go into the fear, anger, and grief willingly. Are you mad? Right? And not do anything? I mean, what's your defense? No defense, right? So those are the warriors. The rest are the warriors. They just keep worrying, right? It's two groups. Two groups, right? But the warriors, it's a different journey. It's like some people are happy with a picture of the Himalayas in a coffee table book on the coffee table. And that's really groovy. And when they have visitors around, they go, have you seen the Himalayas? Beautiful. Look at this book. Wow. Lovely. Okay, let's do something, right? Others, and there's less of them, have a picture of the Himalayas on the fridge that was taken by a friend who went to India and sent the picture. And there's less of those people. And you go to their house and they go, look what Fred sent us. Picture of the Himalayas. Wow. Oh, awesome, cool. Right. There's less of those. Some people go to India and stand 60 miles away from the Himalayas and take a photograph. Right? Wow, they're beautiful. Let's send the photo home to Frank, right? Let's go home, right? There are even less of those people, right? And some go to the base of the Himalayas and look up and go, wow, it's awesome. It's really, really awesome. Let's go home, right? Others will go up to base camp a mile up the Himalayas and camp there for a couple of days. Like, we're on the Himalayas. Groovy, that's like the 7-day retreat. We're on the Himalayas. Okay, now I want my own toilet back. Thank you very much. Right. But if one wants to summit, there's one thing you can be sure of. It's going to get quiet. The higher you go, less people. Right? My brother had this friend, Nokia. He's since passed on. He flew his airplane into a mountain. And he had a very dramatic way of leaving, right? In front of a whole lot of people, too. It was a very strange event because there was a Holiday Inn and people were on thing, and he just flew into the mountain in front of everybody. So it was like, wow! Well, that's one way to go. That's pretty awesome, right? Talk about leaving with a bang, right? But Nokia was a fantastic guy. Nokia was funny. We called him Nokia because he ran the Johannesburg cell phone company, Nokia. You know, it's called Nokia there. So Nokia decided that his office, team building morale. Time for some team building morale. Let's do some of the self-empowerment work, right? We are going to, as an office, walk up Kilimanjaro. Now, in Africa, you can walk up Kilimanjaro. You can walk up Kilimanjaro. It takes about a week or more, but you walk, they've got a pathway up. It's rough going. You know, breathing is hard, it's raining, weird, environment to walk on, all sorts of things. It's rough going, but you can walk to the top, right to the top of Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. And they'll give you suggestions of the amount you need to walk every day and the equipment you need to have and all of this. Nokia doesn't pay any attention to any of this, right? On the day before he leaves to Kilimanjaro with all his staff, he's still sitting on the couch watching TV. Yeah, I'm going to Kilimanjaro tomorrow. It's pretty awesome. I bought a pair of hiking boots this afternoon. They're really groovy. Check, they're still in the box. And so off they went, right? And on about the third day, Nokia was very uncomfortable with what was going on, right? And he decided to lead a mutiny. He decided to overthrow things a bit. And he started saying, down there at base camp, there's a really good bar. It's got a fireplace, a really good selection of beer, comfortable chairs. This is really, really rough up here. I mean, I think we should just go down there for the rest of the time. Because we're going to be here a week or so. But let's just go there rather than up here, right? And eventually, out of the group of about 30 people, he got 10 of them to turn around and go down the mountain. He led a mutiny, his own. He overthrew himself. Right? And took everyone down to the bar, right? And they had a great time down there. They didn't summit, though. So, this is the whole thing. You have to be discerning who you hang out with because they could knock you, right? If you cannot be in your own arms when you're uncomfortable, you will seek out the arms of another. You will seek out the arms of the world. And what's really crucial, why when we do alchemy work, things start to empty out, is because it's very important that we start to gain a very intimate awareness of how we are being with ourselves. And it's very difficult to see that in this world because there's so many of us and we're all talking at the same time and doing stuff. It's very hard to energetically feel how I am being with myself. It's hard to perceive that relationship. And that is the primary relationship. How am I being with myself? That's the only relationship I need to overlook. And in the time, we used to have a time when there was a rite of passage, right? And that rite of passage used to enable us to enter that awareness. So when we ended the third of our 7-year cycles, around what we call 21 years old, the elders would come along, not the parents, because the parents don't know nothing. Parents know how to wipe the bum, make the food, clean the house. The parents don't know anything because they haven't had the life experience yet that the elders have had. So the elders knew something. They knew what was up ahead for the young ones. So they would go and enable the young ones to enter that journey as consciously as possible. And so they would take them at about the age of 21 and they would take them away from the tribe, right? Tribe is an interesting word too. When we belong to a tribe of some sort, tribe means tribe, right? So it's all the activities that we do to try and be, that's our tribe, right? And we all have tribes that we belong to, and when we enter states of being, the tribal activity is over for us. We leave the tribe, we leave the group, right? So the elder would take the young ones away from the group, away from the society, the community they were in, into the wilderness, into isolation. And one of the things that they would do was place them in a circle and draw a circle around them and say, now this I'm ready. First of all, they would have like a fire, and then they would dress up some of them in masks and really hideous looking, like Kachina outfits, really hideous looking or strange things that these kids had never seen before. And then just outside the firelight, they would start to appear, disappear, and the kids would go like, whoa, these are demons. Yeah, really scary demons, okay. And then when they drew the circle around them, they said, okay, this circle is to protect you. You don't leave the circle, otherwise they will get you. So you stay here, right? And you've seen what they look like. They're really nasty looking. So you better stay in the circle. And we'll see you in about 6 days, right? And that person would have to stay there for 6 days. And in that circle, there was nothing to do. They'd have water, and that's it. And by being in that circle for 6 days, they would really see the difference between physical nutrition and vibrational nutrition, and what the emotional was about. And get a sense of their own being with myself. What does that feel like? Because what I am, while I'm in this reality, is not a who. It's not a who. If I ask who am I, I'm never going to get the answer. The great who am I? Just ask who am I? No, it's a wrong question. That's why it doesn't really work. It's what am I? Who am I is always going to lead to a personality. A who is a personality. A what, it takes us beyond that. What am I while I'm in this realm right now can only be felt. It can't be understood or even seen. It can only be felt. So being with myself, starting to get a feeling for what I am, sitting in the circle for 6 days and becoming comfortable with that and gaining an awareness of that and a relationship with that, so I know what that is. I know what I am, I can feel it. So when I'm interacting, now when I leave that also, my purpose is related to my state of being, not something I do. In this world, we say, if I can just figure out what to do, I will know I'll find my purpose, I'll be happy. If I can figure out what to do, I will be happy. But our purpose has nothing to do with what we do at all. It's not a doing. It can be expressed in any doing. The doing is of inconsequence. It's a state of being while we're doing that is of consequence, right? So that state of being is established for that person in the circle. They become completely aware of their state of being, what that feels like, and so their purpose is revealed to them. That's the revelation of purpose, which is very hard for us to comprehend in a world where we're supposed to do something to be on purpose, right? And so when the elders come and fetch them and take them back into the community, they already have a sense of their own being. And they know that this difference between you and me, the being, right? Don't get all confused. We don't have that. We don't have that. We're with people all the way. Boom, 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 boom. Through school, boom, boom, boom. Go to college, boom, boom, boom. Go to the office, boom, boom, boom. Get married, dive into the same bed as someone else, sleep together, boom, 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 boom. No sense of our own self. So the very first step in alchemy, in this journey of approaching the awareness of the vibrational, requires, feeling the vibrational is a whole different level to just feeling my emotional stuff. Feeling my emotional stuff is a good starting point. That will develop the capacity. Right? But I first have to make some space here. Right? So that I can start to, and so naturally, if you want, because what we're doing in this work is we're moving from the drama to the dharma. It's either drama or dharma, one of the two. And the drama is like dust on the aeroplane. And you don't have to dust the aeroplane, you just have to take off. In other words, you don't have to ask people to leave because you want to do your work. Look, excuse me, just leave. I need to do some work. I need to be with myself. You don't have to say that. You just have to authentically commit to being to that internal relationship. And I promise you, they will scatter. Because the world is going in a different direction. The world is going down the mountain, most of the world, to the pub, where it's comfortable and they can feel better about what's going on. That's the momentum, right? The world is very focused on doing. So when you say, no, actually I'm going to awaken to being, you're actually moving in the opposite direction, right? And eventually it's going to get quiet. So when that happens, which happens to us all at some point, it just starts to get a bit quiet. Less people. Where are all the people gone? They're not phoning me anymore. I don't feel like being with them. That group activity, I don't want to go there anymore. Something wrong with me? No. It's a step of the evolution, right? Because the actual work takes place when I'm completely alone and with myself. Feeling my fear is me being with myself. Feeling my anger is with me being with myself. Being with myself. That's the first step. And it's the paradox, because as deep as I get into that is as intimate that I become with everyone when I'm with them. My encounters with human beings will become more intimate wherever I am. The more I can be around my own fear, the more I can be around you when you're in fear without interfering with you. If you're in fear, I'll let you be in fear. If you're angry, I'll let you be angry. If you're sad, I'll let you be sad. I won't go, okay, just feel better. I want you to feel better. I don't want any of you to feel better, actually. I want you to get better at feeling. It's a whole different, because when we get better at feeling, we're going to awaken to that part of ourselves that we're completely unaware of, the part that's waiting to give us everything that's required. Awakening the capacity to that. Once we awaken to that, we don't need other people to show us anything. We don't even need another book, right? And so we're going to take a break. And before we take the break, while it's here, let me say that those of you that have one-on-ones with me, if by the end of the day you don't feel you require a one-on-one, I release you from that, right? Those of you that have booked one-on-ones.
Just let me know.
Yeah, just let us know, but I release you. So you don't have to come just because you made an appointment, because sometimes when we're finished here, you can be full and go, I already received it, right? And so you have permission to go, I don't require that. It's already, right? So just keep that in mind. right? So let's take a break for about 15 minutes, which means we'll be back in about 20, I guess. Okay.